Hi, this is a list of the books that I'm planning on reading before the end of summer, or before school starts, I guess. This is about 15 books. I really don't know what a lot of these are about because I really like going into books blind. I love it when I can find an author who I just really trust the work of so I can read their books without knowing anything about the plot. I fucking hate it when the blurb spoils it, and I feel like the blurb always spoils things a little bit more than I want it to. But I'm going to read the blurbs for these, but we are going to be kind of figuring out what they're about together. This is my stack. I have a couple on hold at the library that I'm also going to include in this, but this is what I have here right now. I'm not really doing this in any order. The first book on this stack of books is called Magma. This I picked up at the library because it's small and there's like not... Oh, did you see that? Did you see what page I just flipped to? It's like really short, like one-page chapters, which I find really compelling in a book. I'll read I'll read about literally anything if it's really short chapters. I can just get through it so easily. So I picked this up. I think this is about an abusive relationship. So this seems to be about a couple who are university students and they move in together and have this like kind of intense relationship, and then over time, his manipulative behaviors start to really show themselves. It says that it sheds light on the undercurrents of violence that go undetected in romantic relationships. And from the vibes I'm getting from this, I think it will be really tense in a very kind of quiet way. And I'm excited to read it, but I also think it's obviously going to be really dark. But I'm interested in the format of these like really tiny little chapters. I wonder how that will lend itself to the storytelling here. After that, I have The Tin Man by Sarah Winman. I just picked this up at the thrift store that I went to the other day. By the way, can I please tell you a story about the thrift store? When I was there, these two... Okay, I had my noise-canceling headphones on and a cart. And these two quite, like, significantly old men came up to me and they said, "Where are the change rooms?" And I was like, "They don't have any, I'm so sorry." And they were... they started arguing with me. They were like... "Well, we need to try on our clothes." And I was like, "Yeah, like, I think they got rid of them during COVID. Like, I'm sorry." And he's like, "I can't take chances on these. Where can I try on my clothes?" And I was like, "I don't, like, there's nowhere. I'm sorry." And they were so upset at the fact that there were no change rooms that they really took it out on me, like a random fellow shopper. It was absurd. Anyway, I got this basically just because I recognized the cover. I enter a sort of fugue state when I'm in the thrift store and I'm looking at the books because there are so many books that I don't recognize. If I have seen a book just one time recommended by anyone, I will without fail pick it up. It did look compelling. I think it's either gay or it's about like male friendship, but I'm not really sure which, and I'm interested in that. I think it really is just some lit fic about people. It says this is almost a love story, but it's not as simple as that. Okay, it's definitely gay. It's about two 12-year-old boys. I think it's like a coming of age story in the beginning, and then it jumps forward into the future where I think they become estranged from each other, and you kind of figure out what's been going on in both of their lives between the ages of like 12 and 30, something like that. Something I hate about this book, this is a ridiculous complaint, but I fucking hate these edges on a book. I want to be able to flick through it. I think that's so annoying to me. That's bullshit. I literally hate it so much. And it honestly might keep me from reading the book. I think I'm going to, but like... I want to read this mainly because I think a coming of age story, even though this is not entirely a coming of age story, I just find that very summary. Someone's delivering a cake to our house. It's my roommate's birthday. And I guess his mom ordered a cake, but I made him a cake. It's in the oven right now. It looked like a chocolate cake. That's what I'm making for him right now. Next up is Elena Knows by Claudia Piñeiro. I actually like really don't want to know what this is about. I read A Little Luck by her last month and I loved it. And I know this is her very popular book that people really like. Oh my God, I already read... Oh my God. I read the first sentence and it's like, so like, I just wanted to know that from reading the book. That's too late, I guess. When Rita's body is found hanging in the belfry of the church she devoted herself to, the investigation is swiftly closed. But her mother, Elena, refuses to accept the police's version of what happened, and despite the physical limitations imposed by her illness, embarks on a journey to call in an old debt. I would have loved to find that out, all of that out while reading it, and I'm upset that I've just read the cover. Which I think is kind of ridiculous. I'm super excited for this. I loved her writing style. I found it so evocative and so interesting in the first book I read by her. I know this is going to be good and I know I'm going to like it. I might actually read this next. After that, we have a Lemon. I also grabbed this at the library knowing nothing about it. I honestly often go to the library and just look at the books that have like the thinnest spines. I just love a short book. It's not even that. It's just that I feel so ready to commit myself to a short book. I feel like I could read anything as long as it's short. And oftentimes I finish really bad books just because there's not very much in them. I love finishing a book. I hate not finishing a book. It's one of my main flaws. So I think I picked this up and I read Parasite meets The Good Son in this piercing psychological portrait of three women haunted by a brutal unsolved crime. I don't know what The Good Son is. I do know what Parasite is, and I love a brutal unsolved crime. That's obviously going to be really compelling. I don't want to read more about this. I looked at the reviews on Goodreads. They were not very good, but I don't know. I'm excited. It says that this book takes the shape of a crime novel, but that's not the main objective, and it actually forms an exploration of privilege, jealousy, trauma, and how we live with the wrongs we have endured and inflicted in turn. I think I'm gonna love this. I hope the writing is good. Next up, I have this short story collection, Shut Up, You're Pretty. Again, I don't know what this is about. I don't know why I'm making this video and I don't know what any of these books are about, but I've seen this collection around and I think I've heard good things about it. I also think that the stories in here are very, very short. Yeah, there's like 18 stories in 131 pages. That's amazing. That's less than 10 pages per story. I love that shit. I love any book that has chapters that are less than 10 pages. That's so readable. I think I could read an 1,000-page book if the chapters were less than 10 pages. I don't really know why. It's some like weird psychological thing where I just feel like I've completed something, and then when the next thing to complete is so short, I just feel like I can keep going forever. Oh my god, sorry. It says, tinged with pathos and humor, these punchy, sharply observed stories interrogate the moments in which femininity, womanness, and identity are not only questioned but also imposed. That sounds awesome. I don't think it's magical realism. I think it is just straight literary fiction, which is not my favorite for short story collections, but I feel for some reason that I'm really gonna like this. It might be that the cover is beautiful. I think it's that the cover is beautiful, though I hate the shape of this book. Stop making books that are so wide. You know, when you're putting a book on the shelf, I don't own this, so it's fine, but when you're putting a book on the shelf, it sticks out so much farther than everything around it. Jail time. Next, we have a book that I know I'm not gonna read, but I've put it in here anyway, because literally every time I finish a book, I'm like, okay, next up, I'm going to read The White Album by Joan Didion. For 2 years, I've been saying I'm going to read The White Album by Joan Didion, and I just don't. I don't know why. I love Joan Didion. I mean, who doesn't? I just, like, am never compelled to read this. I think I just want to be someone who is reading this. That is a, like, okay. I look cool, right? Like, that's a great cover. It's got her name. Like, I look so literary. That's not the real reason I want to read this. I do actually think this will be really good, and I think it's definitely summer vibes. All of her work feels very summery to me. Maybe it's the typewriter font. I think I picked this up and it has that typewriter font and I'm like, oh. But I really would like to one day read this. It's a collection of essays that is about the 60s, I think in California, but maybe just generally in America. I think it would take me a while to read, and right now I just want to like rip through things. After that, we have Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor, and I'm very excited for this, but I just don't want to know anything about it. I keep opening it up, honestly, and looking at the blurb and seeing the witch is dead, and then I just stop reading. Because first of all, that doesn't actually really even sound like something I would read, like something about a witch with a capital W. I loved her book Paradise, and this I've only seen fantastic things about. It, again, like Elena knows with Claudia Piñeiro, this is the book that this author is most known for and most appreciated for. And I remember getting really into her style with Paradise. I was a little bit iffy on it at first because she loves a run-on sentence, and sometimes it will go pages and pages without a paragraph break, and it can be kind of hard to read, but after a while you get really into it, and I know that's going to happen with this, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to tell you what it's about because I just don't want to know what it's about. The Witch is Dead. Fernanda Melchor is a fantastic fiction writer, and that's all I need to know to want to read this. Next in the stack is If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English. This is a story, I think, about two people in a relationship in Egypt. Don't 100% know what it's about. Have you noticed a theme that I like just don't know what the books I want to read are about? I'll spoil this for myself because I don't think anything like really juicy happens in it, to be honest. In post-Arab Spring Cairo, two unnamed characters meet and fall in love. She is a nostalgic daughter of Egyptian immigrants returning to a country she's never been to before. He was a photographer of the revolution who is now unemployed and living in a rooftop shack. As their alternating perspectives unfold in blocks of taut poetic prose, their desire for each other, for the selves they strive to become through the other, takes a violent turn. Oh, something does happen in it. Okay, crazy. I bought this. I opened this up when I was thinking of buying it, and I read a few sentences, and the prose looked delightful, and that's what I'm excited about for this. And now I'm like interested, what's the violent turn? Question: who does a nude belong to? The one who takes it or the one taken? Okay, I actually feel like that has a really obvious answer of whoever's naked body is in the photo. Lots of these pages are like short little things. Kind of interesting. I don't know. To me, the writing in this looks really, really good. Okay, next is a book I've been meaning to read for it feels like my entire life. That's Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. Don't kill me. There was a moment in time where I was really into audiobooks, but I was really, really, really specific about how I wanted the author or the reader, the narrator to sound when they were reading the audiobook. I just like could not get into it unless they were, I don't even know what it was that I wanted, but what I know is that I got the audiobook for In the Dream House by the same author, and I did not like the way that she read it, and I couldn't get into it. And for whatever reason, I like wrote off her work as something that I just wasn't really into, but she is thought of so highly. There's no way that I won't like this. If people who don't typically like short story collections recommend something, I always want to read it, but I just have it in my head. Just that I couldn't really get into the way she was reading her own book, which is like kind of fucked up. I think she just, honestly, I think what it was is that she just had too long of an empty silence between sentences. And it was just hard for me to listen to that. Like, that's it. So I just keep thinking I'm not going to like her writing style, but it is so different for me to read something than it is for me to listen to it. I'm way less picky. Ooh, the first one is called The Husband Stitch. It says, if you read this story out loud, please use the following voices. Me, as a child, high-pitched, forgettable. As a woman, the same. Okay, actually, I'm so excited for this. What the fuck was that noise? This looks fantastic. It looks exactly like something that I would like, exactly what I want in a short story collection. I'm bringing this camping with me. Though I do think it's going to be pretty dark. I can read dark things while camping. I just need to read things that are easier to read. Not in content, but in writing style. Because why did I read A Girl is a Half-Formed Thing while I was literally at a fucking music festival? It was so hard to read. Okay, next up we have Outline by Rachel Cusk. This is the most disgusting version of this book that money can buy. I got this at the thrift store and I honestly thought that it was stained. So you can see that it's kind of lumpy, and that is because I tried to wash it because I thought it was stained. This is just what it looks like. Look at that. Do you see that? I think it's supposed to be like an old photo, but it looks nasty. And I've seen other copies of this book and they look absolutely gorgeous. I love the design of the three of these books together. And this has those fucking serrated edges that I absolutely despise so much. And also the largest margins I've ever seen. This is honestly like the worst edition of a book I've ever encountered in my life. But I've never read any Rachel Cusk. This is set in Greece. That feels summery. I think it's just about her, like this woman going and talking to people. It's really just like a people book. Love that. Love the human condition. I'm sure this will be great. She's such a popular author. I feel like it's crazy that I have never read anything from her. And this feels like a very summery book. I don't know why my camera is dying like this. I think I have to get a new battery. Okay, I'm gonna go fast. After that, we have Salt Slow. This is another short story collection. It's magical realism. I think it's about women in contemporary society, and I think that I'm gonna love it. It is so hard to talk about short story collections that you haven't read. Like, I don't know. Blending elements of horror, science fiction, mythology, and feminism, Salt Slow is an utterly original collection of short stories that are sure to dazzle and shock, heralding the arrival of a daring new voice. Sounds fantastic. I have nothing more to say about it. I'm sorry. I'll talk about it after I've read it. Finally in the stack is Land of Milk and Honey, which I think is like an environmental horror book, maybe like speculative fiction. I'm gonna read the blurb for this. Nope, it's not that. Oh, it is that. After a spreading smog leads to a food shortage, a talented chef escapes to a mountaintop community of the uber rich. Here the air is cleansed, meals are decadent, she emerges from years of bleakness to fall in love again with color, touch, taste, and desire. As boundaries undergo a thrilling erosion, the chef's enigmatic employer and his visionary daughter draw the chef into, oh my god, this is so wordy, into a startling attempt to reimagine the world. Soon the chef must weigh the meaning of her choices beyond the plate. Yeah, the premise of this sounds fascinating. I'm not 100% sure of the writing style. Nothing stands out to me when I open it up, but I want to know what happens in this book. And I'm interested in reading more environmental horror, so I'm excited for that aspect of this for sure. Okay, the books I have on hold are Dogs of Summer, which I think is a, like, lesbian, I'm not gonna say the word sapphic because I fucking hate that word, I'm sorry. Some lesbian teenager coming of age story that takes place in the UK. Ireland? Oh my god, the Canary Islands? Where the fuck is that? Spain. Okay, close enough. That's Europe. UK is not in Europe. It takes place across the Atlantic Ocean. And I think it's about two best friends and one of them is in love with the other one. I don't know if it's reciprocated. Coming of Age also has summer in the title. That's a summer book. I also have Eartheater, which is like magical realism, maybe spec fic as well that is about a woman who is like obsessively compelled to eat dirt, and it gives her images of like people dying, something like that. I don't know, it sounds fascinating and I'm so excited to read it. And then the last book I have is called Shy, and it's about like a mentally ill teenager. I think he's either in jail or institutionalized, and it takes place over the course of one night after his life has kind of just gone incredibly downhill and horrible things are happening to him, and he's just like making all the wrong choices. And I love mental illness, and I don't think it's a coming of age story, but I just find teenager stories to be so summery. When I think of my time as a teenager, I think of my summers. So that's what's on my plate for the next like month, maybe month and a half. I'm starting an English major in the fall, and so I'm probably gonna be reading a lot of dense literature at that time, so I'm trying to get some like nice fun things in before that starts. And I'm hoping I can get to most of these by the time like midway through September rolls around and I start getting quite busy. Okay, thank you for watching. Goodbye.